Sick of getting blisters? Stop slipping and just be comfortable with Pure Grip Socks Pro. Great fit, great comfort, lots of grip, and an even better price. Available now at puregripsocks.com.
I would be lying to you if I said that I would ever wear a pair of Skechers sneakers. I hate what they do as a brand, particularly when it comes to ripping off other designs. And because of this, there's a certain stigma around the Skechers brand. However, when it comes to their football boots, I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that when it comes to fit, feel, and overall performance, that these aren't one of the best football boots currently available in 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to the Skechers Razor, the brand's flagship speed boot that I have here in the latest trench pack colorway. Certainly a little bit more low profile than what they chose to launch with, and because of that launch color, I feel like this is a football boot that was unfairly compared to the Nike Mercurial Vapor 10, predominantly because of the bright mango-esque coloring. And while it's undeniable that there are definitely some elements from this football boot that we have seen from Nike and even from Adidas in the past, in terms of calling this a direct copy of any one boot in particular, I think is a bit of a stretch and honestly a little bit unfair. And as so many of you have pointed out in past videos on Skechers models, the Skechers Performance division that these fall under is very different from the Skechers sneaker or casual wear division, which is basically where all the copying is happening. Nonetheless, it is known that there are some ex-Nike employees working in the Skechers Performance division for their football boot designs, but that's not something that I would say is unusual in the industry, which is why I think it's a little bit unfair that Skechers is being called out for it in this particular situation. But I'm not necessarily here to defend Skechers, and like I said in the intro of this video, I'm really not a fan of the brand whatsoever. There are very many shoes that they make that I simply would not put on my feet. However, objectively, I do think the Skechers Razor is really good, and I want to talk about why that is in today's video. And while we're on the topic of not defending Skechers, I want to actually call them out for not yet making any of their football boots available in the United States, which just seems totally crazy to me given that Skechers is actually an American company. Meaning that if you are looking to put your brand biases aside, if you're interested in a pair of Skechers Razors, you're going to have to get them from Europe as of right now, where the retail price is 225 euros or roughly 225 US dollars, which you can actually get the boots below their normal retail price by way of some exclusive SR4U coupon codes via the first link down below. And as always, if you enjoy these brutally honest reviews, don't forget to drop a like on the video and make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already so you don't miss out on my reviews of all the latest football boots as we head into 2024. Now, when it comes to giving a complete and honest review, you have to be as unbiased as possible. And I think the best way to do that is to talk about everything in a very objective way. And I say that a lot in my reviews, and I think a lot of people are confused by it. What I mean by objectivity is that if you were to take the material of this upper in the forefoot as an example, we don't care about what it's called, we don't care about who it's made by, we don't care about the reputation of the brand, we're simply talking about this material as it is on this football boot, regardless of anything else that's happening. How does it feel? How does it perform? That's what we're concerned with. And I guess to make a long story short, when it comes to almost every element of the Skechers Razor, objectively, it is as good as anything. While there definitely is a mesh as well as a knitted component to the upper of the Skechers Razor, as we see from so many other football boots from just about every brand at this point, something that does make the Razor unique is the synthetic material that you're going to find through the forefoot, which does play a huge role in terms of your comfort as well as the touch on the ball. And you can see it does have a little bit of a micro texturing on the surface that, yes, does relate fairly closely to something like a Nike Mercurial Vapor 10 from 2014. However, that was 10 years ago, and if we look at what's currently on offer in the speed category, there really isn't anything quite like that. And to suggest as well that the Vapor 10 was the first football boot to feature a micro texturing on the upper is just a little bit silly. Again, I think the Skechers Razor being in a very bright mango-esque launch colorway is something that automatically made people draw more comparisons than perhaps what was necessary and what's actually here. In terms of the feel of this upper, yes, it's somewhat Tajin synthetic-like, as again, we used to see on the Mercurial series, but realistically, if I had to compare this to any past pair of football boots, it would actually be the hybrid touch material that we still see from Adidas, but used to see on the 2014 F50 Adizero. Again, a football boot from 9 years ago now, but still not something that I would say is a direct copy. It's a nice blend of being relatively thin while still having a little bit of almost a leather-like sensation to it. There's some substance to this upper that I really appreciate, and to a certain extent it has a little bit of that old school synthetic speed boot vibe. Through the midfoot you are going to find a one-piece upper construction, with the majority of the upper being made from this thin textile that's simply there for the sake of kind of matching the thickness of the rest of the upper, maintaining a light overall construction, and also being structurally sound enough to give you that nice responsiveness when making quick cuts and changes of direction, with of course the central portion of the upper being filled in with this elasticated knit material and a nice deep central lacing system, as we see from the vast majority of football boots these days. So again, is that a copy of any one thing in particular? In my opinion, absolutely not. And from a quality perspective, it is put together and finished as nicely as just about anything on the market right now. Moving to the rear, you're going to find a fairly standard low cut design with a fairly standard knitted construction kind of lining the edges of the opening. Then internally, you're going to find a soft microfiber lining with a thin amount of padding, but the shaping of the heel as well as where the padding is positioned really makes for great overall comfort as well as really solid lockdown. Then the insole, fully removable. It is their Hyperburst Pro foam material, features this mesh lining on the surface, and it's made from a relatively thick layer of this Hyperburst foam, which is actually thicker than what you're going to find on the vast majority of football boot insoles. And in general, if you're looking for that little bit of underfoot cushion, you get more of that from these than just about any other insole that comes with any other high-end football boot. In other words, it is objectively very good and very comfortable. And then as a base, you're going to find a sole plate and stud pattern that looks and feels the part. There is a gimmicky element of the carbon-infused plastic or plate that you have here. What does that actually mean? Pretty much nothing. It's more of a marketing tagline because there is absolutely nothing carbon fiber about any of the materials found on this football boot. However, the plastic that they've used feels very high quality. It's got that nice spring back effect, feels very solid underfoot, pretty much to the same level as any other high-end speed boot in terms of giving you that nice responsive underfoot feel. It's rigid in all the right places, and as far as the stud pattern is concerned, again, something that you could argue was originated from the Mercurial series, but you're going to find chevron bladed studs all the way throughout that are a decent length and provide plenty of bite. Super aggressive traction is what's on offer here, which is pretty well what most people want from something in the speed category. And then there's the weight. How does it compare to one of the most popular speed boots on the market right now in the Vapor 15 Elite from Nike? Both in the same size, 9.5 US. We'll start off with the Mercurials, and you can see that they weigh in at 6.75 ounces, the equivalent of 191 grams. Remember those numbers, and we'll throw on the Skechers Razor, and you can see that they weigh in at 6.85 ounces, the equivalent of 194 grams. For those doing the math at home, that is a weight difference of only 3 grams in favor of the Nikes. However, objectively, can you really feel 3 grams on your feet? Probably not. If you're not sold on the looks of the Skechers Razor, I totally get it. Everyone has their own preferences when it comes to the appearance of a pair of football boots, but when it comes to the fit and feel, particularly if you're after something in the speed category, if you were given the opportunity to try these on before buying them, I think there are very few people that wouldn't agree that they are incredibly comfortable and fit extremely well. Again, especially considering this is their first go more or less at a high-end pair of football boots, the level of refinement in terms of how these feel on feet is really impressive. The synthetic in the forefoot is thin, but also has a nice level of softness and flexibility to it. The shaping through the midfoot, along with the textile material and elasticated knit across the top of the foot, has the perfect amount of tension and tightness to it without feeling like it's squeezing your feet in an uncomfortable way. The nice deep lacing system allows for plenty of adjustability, and the overall fit and lockdown through the heel is just about perfect. The sole plate underfoot feels very high-end and as good as just about any other high-end speed boot sole plate. And from an overall feel perspective, there is very little that I can actually complain about. When it comes to width, these are definitely on the tighter fitting side, as are most speed boots, but not overly narrow by any stretch of the imagination. So as long as you don't have ridiculously wide feet, I think these are going to be suitable for the vast majority of people. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you are looking to get a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So there you have it. Even though Skechers is a brand that has what I would argue a less than favorable reputation in the world of footwear, and even though this is more or less their first go at a serious pair of football boots, objectively, they've done everything really, really well. They fit great, they're incredibly comfortable, they're lightweight, offer aggressive traction, they're responsive football boots, offer a great feel for the ball, and are priced very competitively compared to the more popular competition. Their main issue, there's an S on the side. Take away that S and you have one of the best speed boots currently on the market.